We're here with Erin Greene, activist extraordinaire, and we are going to be discussing, perhaps arguing, about some topics that are near and dear to her heart. Hopefully we won't get too riled up, but we'll see how it goes. To be perfectly honest, if truth be told, I don't want us to be too civil, because then it's just you watching someone have a conversation. Arguments are always much more
entertaining.
Yeah.
And evoking. People engage more, I would say, to the negative, but we're evoked to respond to things we don't agree with, and we're more likely to just sit back when we hear and see things that we agree with.
Now, that's something that I want to take issue with.
Yeah.
Because while I might agree with that sentiment sometimes, recently, people usually avoid things that they disagree with. That's what I found.
Yeah.
If they see something online, they hear a conversation, they really disagree with what's being talked about, they would prefer to keep their head down and stay silent. That's what I've seen.
And I've been seeing it as well. I've read it as, like, for instance, the marital rape issue, right? I've read it as, I think that marital rape is wrong. I see other people saying it's wrong, so I don't need to get in the conversation. Right?
So they expect everyone else's collective morality to do the job.
I think in some instances, I think so. Okay. And what's been my greatest concern in this entire gender conversation over the last 4.5 years, say from 2013, when we began the constitutional reform exercise, right, is that not enough people have weighed in on the conversation, right? And I think we have a lot of people who feel that they're on the right side of humanity, their position is correct, and they don't need to engage the conversation.
There's a popular term in the common lexicon now, being on the right side of history, quote unquote.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people using that, making that claim. I haven't seen a whole lot of evidence that they are. But that's a different topic, perhaps for another time. And what I would like to do is start off with something that we agree on.
Yeah.
You brought up the issue of marital rape. And you said something earlier, before we started recording, about having the government get its hands basically out of marriage, the marriage contract. If I could paraphrase you, if I could kind of sense what you're thinking, the contract of marriage should not be, because marriage shouldn't be solely a civil union.
Yeah, I think it's problematic when we invite the state into our bedroom, right? Like when you go to a wedding, right? I participated in a wedding before, right?
You?
Yeah, not actually getting married, but if you've ever been to a wedding in an Anglican church, at least, there's a part of the service that the congregation or the audience to the wedding participate in. Right? And the audience or the members of the community actually agree to participating in the marriage, right? So there's a call and response, and people in the audience say, we will support this family. We will provide a space for this family. This new family is a part of our community, right? So like in the service itself, you bring the community into your marriage, right? That's why you're only supposed to invite people you love and trust to your wedding.
Right.
And these people sit and they say, we will support you in this new venture, this new union. We will support you in growing your family. We will provide a space for you, right? And I imagine that means if I see my neighbor's rowing, husband and wife, right? And it's getting a little heated, I may call and invite one of them over to take a break, to come have some tea, come talk. Because you invited me to your wedding, and I said these things. And so if I see that you're having a problem, my job is not necessarily to force my way in to the marriage, but to be available if one of the members of the marriage or the couple needs support, right? So we already in this wedding process invite our community into the marriage, right, in a positive way to support. Why you need to invite the state? There's a big difference between the state and your community. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's dangerous.
Between the state and the community.
It's dangerous when we blindly engage in these processes. We don't know what we're doing, right? So I don't, as a individual, as a human, and then as an advocate, right? Because the positions are slightly nuanced. I don't know if I believe in the institution of marriage, right? Like the legal institution. When two people love each other, if they're religious, if they're Christian, right? Those two people go before God and pledge their love to each other before God. You inviting God into your marriage. You were saying that our faith holds us together, our relationship with God holds us together, and we want God to be a part of this union, right? I said your church marriage. That's one thing. The service itself invites the community in. Why you want to invite the state in to your marriage, into your bedroom, right? Which is officially what you do. Marriage is a contract. Marriage is a contract. The state contract, marriage is a contract. The contract is designed to build societies, right? The state decided that the nuclear family is the model unit. The marriage is the contract, or the way that we define the nuclear family, and the state has a contract to help build what it thinks is a good society.
I'd like to jump off from there and hopefully add a little something to that. I, like you, don't think the state should have anything to do with marriage.
Yeah.
Maybe for a slightly different reason. Marriage isn't just a state contract. It's not just a social contract. I would like to go back to the biblical, not definition perhaps, but certainly the culture, the biblical culture of marriage. It is a covenant between you, your spouse, and God.
Yeah.
And for most of human civilization, the state, whatever state that was, had absolutely nothing to do with a marriage. If you said you were married, the state pretty much said, okay, because it was none of their business in the first place. I think, and I'm going to talk to my faith family, I think that Christendom made a huge mistake a long time ago in that we got so lazy, we decided, let's just have a one-stop shop kind of thing. Once we sign the marriage certificate in church, that's both the marriage certificate between me, my spouse, and the Heavenly Father, and it's also the contract with us and the state. That, to use one of your terms, has always been problematic, because then once we invited the state in, the state figured, well, since I'm in here, I have a right to say something. Just like you talked about being a member of the community, and if you see a new married couple having problems, you will insert yourself and insinuate, so to speak, into the situation. But you have that right because you were invited. Right.
Like, I think one of the biggest issues is that we're not taking marriage seriously enough. And no matter what your perspective
Hold on a second. Would Erin Greene please say that last line again?
I think one of the biggest issues we have in this town and in cultures generally around the world is we're not taking marriage seriously enough. I'm not married. I've never really had an intention. Well, once I hit adulthood, I didn't have an intention to get married. But I know that the people who say they take marriage seriously don't take marriage seriously. And it should be obvious to anybody when you look at society, when you look at the institutions, the businesses, the services that are offered, we don't really take marriage seriously. We take the process seriously, right? Like you're going to get married, you're going to buy a dress, you're going to have a reception.
The emphasis is on the wedding, not the marriage.
Right, and I think there's a fancy term, right, that people use, a phrase that sums it up, right? Like it seems it's about the pomp and pageantry, and it's not about its substance, right? So it's like form over function or something like that. But we're not taking it seriously. People aren't taking it seriously. And so if I could just jump across to the marital rape discussion for a second, I'm saying to people, like, if you don't believe that the law should step in to a married couple's bedroom when there is strife, right? That's fine. That's your belief. That's great. I mean, we can respect that belief. But I ask those people, where is the support from the community? If you don't think the state should step in, where is the support from the church family? Where is the support from the people that you invited to participate in your wedding, right? If you don't think the state should step in, why are we not providing other forms of support for these people? And I think that that's an indication that we no longer understand what marriage is supposed to be, whether it's from the religious perspective or specifically the Christian culture around marriage, or whether it's from a wider general culture of community. And I think that the first step in the whole discussion about issues related to marriage is people need to stop and seriously consider what the institution is and how they are treating it. Because I think we're killing marriage. I take offense when...
As hypocritical as two non-married people lecturing married people about what marriage is, but yes, I agree.
Yeah, man, and I could be honest with you. I had a personal instance where a couple whose marriage I was invited to participate in through the ceremony, right?
Is the same marriage or this is the next marriage?
This is a different marriage where they...
My goodness. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride?
Oh, yeah. I count myself lucky
Well, you're young yet.
in these
You're
circumstances.
still tied.
And you know what? I could live with that. Like, the possibility is out there.
Endless.
I tell people all the time, there's a possibility I could wake up tomorrow and be straight, right? Like, I'm not throwing anything out the window. You heard it first. But we really as a community need to decide how we're going to treat marriage, right? Because single people, non-married people are a part of the community as well.
Full disclosure, I didn't hear anything you said after straight.
I feel you.
Okay.
I feel you.